Hi, this is Kara Wanagatimu, and welcome back to SharePoint Television. We're excited today to have a panel on the topic of enterprise social. We know everyone's talking about it, and I'm happy to have some leaders from the field to share with you their experiences about enterprise social, its implementation, and how we're really driving culture change with it. In case you've forgotten, you can see the highlights of our segments in your room on channel 36. With that, I want to introduce my panel members, who I'm happy to have here. Two of them are my colleagues from the Microsoft IT Discovery and Collaboration Group. That is Chris Slemp and Sean Squires are from our group. And then we also have Dux Raymond-Sy, who just fresh from his segment this morning on 5 steps to driving culture change. Gentlemen, thanks. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I know, this is a lot of fun. So Chris, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in social at Microsoft and what that's really meant to you and the trajectory of your career.
So I've been at Microsoft for about 12 years, but really the last 4 years I've started to get more involved in the social business side of things. Started on MSDN, doing some external social enterprise things, and then focused on the internal story for employees for the last 3 or 4 years. So I've been involved in SharePoint and now Yammer ever since. So
I bet you've seen a tremendous amount of change. How did the Yammer acquisition change what you were working on?
Loaded question.
So,
tell us, Chris, how did that happen?
So I actually tweeted the day that the acquisition was announced. I tweeted, and my simple tweet was, "Today my life just got a lot more complicated."
Exactly.
Because essentially what happened was we launched 2 social networks at the same time, and it was interesting.
Yes.
But it's been fascinating to see how people have attached to that and have started to use Yammer in all kinds of different ways. So as well as SharePoint.
That's great. That's great. Dux, I know you have a little bit of a different perspective being a Microsoft partner. First off, tell us a little bit about the company that you're with,
Sure.
what you're doing back east, and how you got involved in social.
Sure. So my name again is Dux Raymond-Sy. I'm managing partner with Innovative E. We're a Portals Collaboration SharePoint partner and Microsoft Project Portfolio Management partner as well. We really focus, while SharePoint and related technologies are great platforms, so we focus on how you deliver business value. And certainly social, falls smack dab in the middle of all that. It's the intersection of everything. And one of the key things we've been working on with social is really looking at strategically for organizations to say, how do you have sustainable adoption? It's not just a one-time training. It's not just, ooh, look at all these news feeds, likes, follows, and whatnot. But what does that mean from a business value? And in fact, there's a misnomer and misunderstanding about social. People think of social, Yammer's great, news feeds are great. But by definition, if you look at social, what enterprise social at least, for what it means, enterprise social is there because it's supposed to help enhance communication, facilitate collaboration, and the third point is deliver true business value.
Absolutely.
Nowhere in there say it has to be a wiki or a survey or a feed.
Right.
And heck, you can make Excel social. Right?
You can.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely
As I think
true.
you proved this morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
I agree with that. Well, and Sean, you and I have a true love of ECM. We
sure
share
do.
that ECM background. How do you think that the social collaboration is affecting ECM as a whole, overall in the industry?
Oh, I think it's enriching the opportunities for us to just embed the social experience, that whole fabric, into all of those collaborative interactions and enrich them. So our team has really been focusing, obviously, on improving discovery, improving collaboration, and in the workplace. And I think that the social just adds a whole new dimension to that. I mean, you're right. I think really resonating, what is the business value? Because so much of what we need to do is help users understand how can we fulfill those business scenarios, and where does social enrich that? How does it improve the collaboration and make it easier?
And the key is the line has to be drawn, because it's still, awareness is key, because people think of social as Facebook and Twitter, which is great, it's good for personal, but in the enterprise environment, you're driving towards a common goal. I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to facilitate better communication and facilitate better personal connections.
That's so true. I think that's absolutely true. But there's another part, and I know that you've been working on this a lot. What about best practices in the enterprise? Because you were just talking about, driving the true business value, and integrating social in with our overall ECM picture. But then it's about teaching people how to really implement that. Chris, what do you think about that?
Well, to continue on with the theme, it's really about landing the business value with that organization. So So what you do is you find, we hear often about finding champions in organizations. Well, really the best candidate for a champion is someone who's driving a business goal and a business result,
Yes.
and they think that increasing collaboration or increasing transparency or all the things that social does really well is going to lead to more success with that goal. So you find that goal, whether it's community or finding people or getting answers to questions. There's lots of business goals that people have that fit right in with social. So you find that champion in an organization that needs to nail that goal, and then work with them to say, okay, now what social tools should we bring to bear on that problem?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we teach folks that it's about the business value first and the tools second, I think that's going to help them really, get in the right model of how to adopt
Sure.
these things for sure. Dux, you have a great perspective in government and, working back east, and because of your practice, I see a lot of people who still don't understand social, and they're really concerned about risk, right? They're concerned about information getting into the wrong hands. How do you address that in your practice?
So certainly government, healthcare, financial institutions. Again, I feel like it's awareness and just misinformation or lack of information for that matter. So when they start talking about, it's not secure, it's risky, people start talking about whatever they want to talk about. Well, guess what? Newsflash, they're doing it.
Exactly.
Right? They got your phones, they got tablets, no matter how you... So here's a good example. I'm not going to name any agency or whatever, but it's a high-profile agency, organization. They launch a very public profile website. And we start talking about Twitter, right? Because it's supposed to make it visible to the public. And then the tweet starts showing up mocking the agency.
Right.
And then the senior leadership there says, who approved that?
Wow.
Who approved for this information to show up on the website on this stream?
Right.
No one.
Right.
Why can they? Well, they just can. Because he wanted Twitter streams to show up on this public website. Well, great. It does show up now.
Right.
So it's there. But it's not good or bad, but you got to have a strategy on, number one, okay, what's the business about? But number two, facilitate a way for people to work within it, be successful in it, while still around the parameters, if you may.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in ECM we're more familiar with the idea of information moderation
Sure.
and life cycles. And I think, what do you think about the concept of bringing those tenants into the social world? Because that's a beautiful example of maybe there's some moderation that needed to be done, or maybe you have to embrace that openness, but it's a business decision. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was thinking about when Dux was explaining his example is it really is a matter of, there's an education piece here that I think is critical. And being a PM in the engineering space in this area, I think where I find is that the education becomes really important is, no, we don't need to give you a wiki to solve your business problem, but we do need to help you understand how these tools can be best leveraged. I mean, a fantastic example for folks here at the conference is learning about the new SharePoint social features and the way that hashtag profiles can be easily connected to content. And now you're solving an information discovery problem while still honoring the security tenets of those documents because of the permission model that's being honored. And so helping people understand that's actually improving discovery, not making it more difficult, that's a great thing, while still meeting those security concerns that folks have.
Absolutely, and I think as a team collectively in Discovery and Collaboration, we're really working on that modern collaboration model.
Right.
And being able to help people understand how they need to be building to the cloud, to the social tenants, to all of those pieces as they move forward. Everybody's a content publisher now,
Exactly.
and it's a different paradigm than we're used to. So I think that'll be a great opportunity, to hear about that. We're doing a session on it tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
We are.
SBC 035. People can come out and join and learn about that modern collaboration model.
Another key point is it's here. They want it or not, it's here. And think about the next generation worker, information worker. It's part of their life, and they're expecting that. Right?
They are.
So if we're not ready for it, that's going to be a problem.
That's absolutely true. We've talked about this quite a lot. Like, it's already here.
Yep.
We have to, be able to guide people into the right directions to leverage the technology, because it's certainly not going away. Chris, what are your thoughts about that a little bit?
What I often talk to, we were talking a little bit earlier about fears that governance bodies tend to have in this space, and the mantra that I always come back to them with is, better the devil you know, right?
Yes.
Which euphemism for it's out there, it's happening, and if you don't provide a way, you don't provide a venue for them to interact in this way, they will find a place to do it.
Right.
And so it's best that you do it, in a place that you know and you understand and you perhaps have some control over. than somewhere else. So
Well,
it's
isn't
coming.
that why the Yammer freemium model was
Yep.
so successful, I think, is because
right.
people were doing stuff like this already. New workers do have an expectation that the technology they have at work is going to work at least as well as what they have at home.
Well, what's interesting is that with a lot of the feedback that Yammer received from IT departments, where IT would come in, be all gruff, and say, "Hey, you've given them this free tool to go out and use, and I don't have any oversight on that." And the fact is that if Yammer wasn't there providing that, they would be doing the same thing on
Somewhere.
Facebook.
Right,
Somewhere
which is
else.
what you really don't want,
And
right?
in fact,
Or Twitter.
they
Yeah, or Twitter, right.
they were.
They were doing
And
it
they
on
were.
Facebook. People were,
Oh,
right?
right.
And people who have these unauthorized Twitter accounts, and all of a sudden
Oh,
they're
yeah.
tweeting stuff about the company,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's every CEO's nightmare, and I certainly recognize that. But people have to get on board with this strategically, I think. So I think we've talked about it from a company level, but I know personally the advent of social has absolutely changed the way that I work as an individual. And so, Dux says, have you felt that as well? How has Twitter, the whole social enterprise impacted
for
you?
me, it's a profound impact from a personal, professional, and just engaging with people.
Yeah.
So number one, and this applies in the enterprise, right? Never in my life would I be thinking that I have the opportunity to follow like key thought leaders like Bill Gates, just to
Right.
get in their thoughts, right? I don't even have
Yeah.
to talk to the guy. I get lucky here and there he responds, right? I don't know if he's responding, but that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's a good learning for me, what they're up to and some of the tips. But second is just engaging with the community. Talk about SharePoint community. It's through social that the community got cemented. It's through social that I got to know you and everybody else. But then looking at that model, flip that in the enterprise world, large organizations, right? You got high profile organizations that, your CEO might be in Netherlands and you're working here. The touch point's so far, but what if you follow your CEO and your CEO's engaged, read the news feeds, you can reply. It's very similar. So,
Makes
so
a
I-
huge difference.
Yeah.
Just feeling more connected
That's
overall,
it.
I think.
Yeah.
And the SharePoint community is an unbelievable example. So many people that we all know each other through the community channels. It's huge, and it continues on after we leave this conference.
And just one more story, talking about that just reminded me, I think I shared this the other day, but we were in Sri Lanka, did SharePoint Saturday. Our car broke down. Michael Knoll tweeted something, our car broke down, we're here. 5-10 minutes later, somebody tweeted about, where are you guys? I live close by, in the middle of nowhere, Sri Lanka.
Oh, that's
Yes.
awesome.
And we're like, how'd you know us? Well, we were SharePoint Saturday yesterday, and we started following you.
Yep,
That's,
it happens.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Can't tell you how many times I've been in a random airport. Caruana, I'm like, how do you know my name?
Stalking
And
me.
you said it right. That's always a good plus, right? So Sean, how about you? How has this changed your day-to-day work life? And because also, those of us internally, we're using SharePoint Online and those social features as well. So,
Yes.
we're not just about Yammer and other things. There's a lot going on for us. So how's that changed your day-to-day work life?
Well, I want to give you a really specific example because I think as Dux has talked about some of the more public social tools that are out there, and Chris talked about at the beginning of this segment, the challenge we have with having Yammer and SharePoint. But I want to focus just on SharePoint for a moment. As Microsoft rolled the product out early for the employees to start getting used to it and collect feedback for the product group, one of the things that became really powerful very immediately was we set up essentially a support hashtag. And so when users had issues, they quickly learned. It was amazing. Even people that were kind of new to the whole experience, they would just say, hey, I'm having a problem, hashtag IT support, and all of a sudden, they were rapidly getting feedback and responses from folks who may not have necessarily been available to them through support or anything else, and
right.
the community was right there helping them out. And that really had a lot of positive effect on people understanding this is the power of social.
Exactly, and I always wrap that up in the easy access to subject matter experts.
There you
right?
go.
Because
Thank
what
you.
happens
Yeah.
then is,
Yeah.
and even I know this, if I have a question, I know to hashtag your name in the SPO news feed so that you will see that, right?
I've noticed that.
I know,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I kind of stalk him on SharePoint Online, but that's a whole nother segment, so we're not going to talk about that right now. But
Similar story nationwide. You see that on the commercial? Nationwide
Yes.
insurance company?
Yes.
Very similar. They said their customer support and request dropped.
As soon
help
as
desk
they rolled out
calls, their
Spot.
help desk
Yeah.
calls drop. That's
Yeah,
right.
because similar thing. Somebody posts something, but then it's a crowdsourcing, right?
Exactly,
And people are
exactly.
like, oh, that happened to me. But nobody knew but that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? But that's the power.
That is
of
the
it.
power of it. Is the power. And do you see that as well, Chris? And in your day-to-day life, obviously you're the social guru, one of them at Microsoft, and so it's dramatically affected your life. But tell me a couple key points of how it's changed things for you.
So I'm going to bring a dose of reality here.
We love
Which
you for
is,
that.
so here's the reality, is that the people at this table are the early adopters.
That's
right?
true,
I mean, we're the
yes.
ones that are out there, you
Sure.
know, using it first and foremost. And so what happens is we are at the front side of the mainstream adoption wave.
Right.
Which means that those of us at this table are living in both worlds still.
That's right.
Because I'm still getting emails from people, just as many or more than before, who know that I'm the
Yeah.
go-to guy, right? That I have to respond to, as well as monitoring this feed and that feed. And so it has increased my workload, but I'm thinking, hoping, planning that that's a temporary thing as we start to build out more and more of those subject matter experts, and they become more local to their departments and so
Good
forth.
point.
So yes, it's easy to find experts. I'm feeling the pain of that right now.
Yes.
But it will get better as people shift from the email culture to a more social.
And I think that you really hit a nail on the head. What we're driving is the behavioral change of individuals.
Yep.
Really, we're talking about the technology, but really changing human behavior, and it's a process. Requires communication, requires our consistency as thought leaders in that
Patience.
area, and patience. That's right. Patience is very important.
And this is very important because people might think, oh, social, let's turn on the switch and life will be great. No, just like any change management activity, there's a big hump that's
Sure.
going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's true value in that. I mean, I remember when email first came out, back in my days.
I know, right? You're not
This-
that old, Doug. You had
can't-
to ask somebody about that, didn't you? Ask me.
I clearly remember this. I sent an email to this customer. The customer printed the email on
Right.
paper, wrote the response, faxed it back to me.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
But it's no different than people
Yeah.
sending an email, hey, I've uploaded the document to the library, and by the way, I've attached it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's that change behavior.
It
Yep.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of my pet peeves is continuing to email around spreadsheets. Stop emailing around spreadsheets. Put them in a document library. Send me a link. Send me a share. And it is the user interface of that is also dramatically improved in SharePoint
Sure.
2013 and O365. So I think it's going to help people. Having a nice user interface helps people embrace the change and adopt the tools.
Sure.
Well, and you guys are also highlighting where, we're still in that sort of transition period because let's be honest, most of the social features that we're talking about, these new ones, how we find out about them is you mention me, I get an email.
That's
And
right.
then I know to go and
Yeah.
read the feed.
That's
so
right.
we're not able to completely overlap and collapse these technologies, which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not. Just part of the process,
But there's
and
a
we have to
lot
understand it.
of channels so that we get our notifications and awareness from. So.
Absolutely.
But for me, email's not going to go away, and it's fine.
No, and I'm good with that too.
Me
I mean,
too.
email, I think, what it's great for, it's a great alerting mechanism.
Right, exactly.
But you don't work in email.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
And what people do now, and that's why it's so unmanageable, that's why I have 2,500 messages in my inbox that I try to categorize and use rules and what have you, but I'm a pretty advanced Outlook user as well. A lot of people don't even know about setting up rules and automatic folders, all this kind of stuff. So I think that people have tried to work in email and they've encountered the pain of it. And I think that pain is one of the chief things that will move people into this new paradigm. Because once you get there, it can be simpler, but you're right, it won't totally replace it.
I wrote a blog post about this several months ago. The point I keep trying to drive home is that we're not getting rid of email, we're putting email in its place.
Correct.
And it
There
does
you
have
go.
a place,
Beautiful,
right?
yes.
The reason you have 2,500 email is that everybody's using email and nothing else.
That's right.
Instead of, considering the message and saying, hey, maybe we know right now when I should make a phone call versus send an email.
That's right.
Right.
Well, now we need to know when to make a phone call, send an IM,
That's right.
post in a news feed, and it feels a little overwhelming right now only because it's so new, but it will become natural.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
don't you think, tell me what you think a little bit about the integration with project sites and tasks and what have you. I really see a huge part of social for project management. I know this is your
Yeah,
key
that's your
expert
area,
area. So talk with me a little bit about that because I
So-
love that personally.
So, from my perspective, people get this anaphylactic reaction when they hear the word project management. Oh,
I know.
Guilty.
I know.
oh, you read books, you gotta be a PMP. No. I mean, if you look at enterprises today, everybody's working on a project. Now the question is, what kind of project, how complex it is, pretty much that's it. And that's the power of the platform provides. If you're very mature, you're building a satellite, right? So you're at the high end, yeah, I mean, there's tools for that. But then if you're a reluctant project manager,
Sure.
it's not my day job,
Right.
right? I work in IT, I just have to work on this stuff, organize this stuff. SharePoint has a platform for that allows me to do that, which is brilliant. And the cool thing with 2013, especially with my task, I love it. Because
wonderful.
it doesn't matter. You work in SharePoint, you got tasks assigned to you, you're in Project Server, there's tasks assigned to you. In Outlook, there's tasks for me. Guess what? It all gets combined.
There you go.
I
It's
can
a
see in a
beautiful
single
thing.
My Task view. I can fire up Outlook, it shows up, heck, it's on my phone. That's what I call project management on my terms.
Exactly. I love that. And we're adopting a lot of that in our own discovery and collaboration group as well, and setting those standards for Microsoft as an enterprise. And I just think it's tremendously powerful. It's kind of like, you know, PMO light, if you will, but it provides those features of aggregation. And if you're a program manager looking at a lot of different projects, you really have the ability to do that now across the stack.
And what's really exciting is nobody has the breadth and depth of the offering. Because now, again, it's education. When you talk about project management, people think, oh, it's Microsoft Project. Well, that's one piece of it.
Right.
And the beauty of all this is you're working in SharePoint, you're working Project Server, guess what? You can provide a roll-up visibility from an executive perspective, especially 2013 with the visibility mode.
Exactly.
It's just, I mean, my head's blowing, but it's really
Isn't it
cool.
unbelievably
Yeah.
exciting?
Oh, yeah.
This is how you know we're geeks, because I get really excited
I know,
about
like,
this stuff.
yes.
It's fabulous. Yes, I love it. But John, tell me about this. You know, in our own group, you can think of the different kinds of people that we have and how
Sure.
they're adopting it and not adopting it, and we're guiding them along this path. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for us as Microsoft IT, you know, and especially with this ECM bend in the next, say, 18 months?
I think going back to what I said earlier is I think there, to quote Dux, I mean, change is hard, you know, and so I think it's really that behavioral shift. But here's the challenge. While we're trying to educate and train people to take advantage of these new tools, the tools are going to continue to evolve
That's
and
right.
change much more rapidly. And so I think a lot of things we get all excited about is this aggregation. Hopefully that will help things, you know, to make that adoption and those behavioral changes easier. But that is going to be the challenge, is we need to continually educate people and help people understand the places where it's hard for them to adopt these new tools. Well, do it in such a way, because as the tools evolve, hopefully they become even easier to adopt. So it's
So true.
sort of what is that, the cart before the horse, isn't
Yeah,
it?
a little
You
bit of
know,
the cart before
balancing
the horse.
that, right? Yeah.
I used to call it
so that's
riding
going to be
the
the
bike
push-pull
while
shuttle.
you're building the bike while you're riding it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and we do that especially at Microsoft
Yes.
with our technology stack. So that's where it'll be fun.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I could have this conversation forever. I think it's an amazing conversation, and I know that the folks out there are really going to enjoy this. If you want to continue being in this conversation, make sure you include the hashtag either SPCTV or SPC12 in your tweets, and we'll all see them, and yes, we will respond. Before we wrap up this segment, I want to have an opportunity to ask my panel members one thing that people don't know about you. You think I forgot? They thought I
Yes.
forgot. No, I did not forget. So Chris, we're going to start with you. Please tell our audience one thing that people don't know about you.
I built my own chicken coop this year,
Oh, hey,
and I'm raising chickens.
that's
So,
impressive.
Nice.
Very
you
impressive.
go.
Very sustainable. Very.
That's the idea.
Dux?
So this is big. It's like nobody in the community knows this.
Ooh.
And it's
Oh.
different from what I told the other day.
Oh, really? This is an exclusive for SPC
It's
TV.
exclusive right here.
Excellent.
I had LASIK 5 years ago.
Really? I did not know that.
Whoa.
So you know what
Yeah,
that means,
I
right?
do.
I do know what that means.
All right.
Right. I don't know that I understand why you still have these on, but
And,
you know,
well,
that's a whole other conversation, right?
After LASIK, I didn't keep it on, but everybody's like, something's not right.
Something's missing.
Put it back. I'm like, all right.
Personal brand. Yeah.
It is
brand.
personal brand. Bow tie, glasses, it's all good. We know you're famous. Okay, Sean, it's your turn.
All right, mine's not as exclusive or exciting, but you know, because we work so much in software, I actually, mine's kind of related to Chris's. I need to do something tangible with my hands when I'm not working on software. So I'm sort of a closet carpenter, and much to my wife's both pleasure and chagrin. The projects that go well, that's a good thing.
Nice.
The ones that never get done,
Yes.
It's on Craigslist for free.
That's
Is that
right.
That's right.
Exactly. Look, I'll search and do some discoverability
Perfect.
Craigslist for your project. That's excellent. Well, this has been a fabulous panel. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, make sure to continue the conversation after the conference. Follow SPConf on Twitter. Include the hashtags SPCTV or SPC12, and find these great distinguished members of the SharePoint community and follow them. They have wonderful things to say and write and are excellent contributors to our community. Thanks again, and we appreciate you watching SharePoint Television.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.